Smurf.
You're a
Like
dream,
an
you
epic
die.
Smurf.
That's what I've heard that. Yeah.
Dabba D.
I'm just plugging one doohickey in real quick. It should be live, just to see if it's actually booting up.
I see you use one of those gloves for screen.
Yeah, it's because this is my screen that I'm.
Does it really help?
Oh yeah.
I struggle with tablets because I don't have one of those.
Yeah.
What, a glove?
Yeah.
A mixed investment for sure.
Well, a lot of people actually make their own out of like socks. You just take some socks, and just like or regular like little wool gloves, and you just cut the fingers off or whatever. It just works fine. It's just meant to keep like if my hand gets sweaty because I'm working on this thing for hours, like the friction will cause my hand to like and then line up like jagged.
Oh so. No! Yeah. My issue is with the iPad is it wants to register my palm if I'm laying on it.
Nerds.
Shut up. You
say nerds.
Yeah.
He says it like he's not one.
No, Spikles is in the chat right now. He's like, I can hear you, nerds, but I'm using the stream starting soon.
That's awesome. Oh, I should log into that. My bad. My bad.
Well, there we go. I was looking around like, where is this? Oh, boy. All right, you got to get rid of that middle bit there, Joe.
Oh. Yeah, look at that.
Nailed it.
Keep that on a different source to turn on later to use at other times.
I did it.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't have it turned off because I'm multitasking.
All right, one thing at a time.
I wonder.
How do we sound?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hey, TC's in the chat now.
Yep.
Where it was last time.
I don't
know. The screen looks so cool, dude. Painful.
You did a good job with it.
Good job, Ruby.
Not me, Gamma. He made that. That's so cool. And then I just added little tiny things.
Yeah, dude, I was so excited. That like blew me away the other day. I'm like, you're like, I made a little something for the podcast. You're like, I made a little something. I'm like, oh yeah, what'd you make? You're like, something for the podcast. I was like, oh, really? Oh, dude. And you showed me and I opened it and you're like, wow, that was fast.
Right.
Like I couldn't open it fast enough. I was all twitchy.
It wasn't that fast. It took a few hours. Hang on. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I do that all the time.
It's just easier to host through my phone.
Same. That's like, literally what I'm doing.
I wonder though, so is there such a thing where you can have your screen just full screen using, I don't know, some camera thing through your PC? No, wait, that one won't be full screen. Let's say you do screen share and then you have like a small box using like the default PC, what is it, Microsoft's little video cam thing, and then just have that in the corner. Then you'll sort of have a setup where you'll have you and your screen.
It could just be easier if we did a multi-stream and it was y'all and it was me and I was actually on my setup with my overlay. I don't want to do that right now.
So much, yeah.
Future ideas.
It might work, maybe.
Yo,
I'm
personally, I just like him like flipping to show his drawing at the same time.
Okay. You can do that though. No, yeah, that works.
I love these animations of the dog and the cat and the coin and the dude.
Yes.
It's my bearded ghost, dude. Ruby made it. She's like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know, something with a beard. And she's like, I got it.
So you made these, Ruby?
Yeah.
Yes.
I fucking love them.
Thanks.
They're so amazing. It's the same kind of stuff I would do with my my little dude, my little animated guy.
Yes.
Yeah, and she made them so she made two for each. So the animation is either on the left or the right, depending on where I put the boxes, putting in the overlay.
Just in case.
Ruby, you're a genius.
She is a genius.
Thank you.
Creative solutions.
She's awesome.
She's
She's the what?
She's the creative solutions expert.
I
Hey,
don't know,
Raspberry.
man. I bounce a lot of ideas off of those two, so. Jeez.
Well, they're all creative.
Tyler's creative.
Oh yeah, no, that's not.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no lie about that.
Yes, he's very talented. These guys are very humble. Just FYI, they're super humble.
I absolutely know. It bugs the shit out of me. I try to be as humble as they are.
That bothers me.
I'm like, God damn it, just accept a compliment.
I get like that with Joe. I'm not gonna lie.
Whenever I'm talking to some people, like a good example, Dr. Asanov. Whenever I'm like, oh, "Dude, you're amazing," she'll always say, "No, you." And it's like,
You're
what
amazing.
the heck? How do I trump that?
Just
Shake them like a baby.
If I could move my camera without messing everything up, I have the samurai that you had at Guardian Con
Oh, really?
framed up on my wall next to a couple of Cobb's pieces because I'm slowly getting everything framed and back onto the walls because there's a new office. And I got that one and a couple others that I got a couple years prior. I love them.
Before we go too hard and start recording, what's up, Zodran? Spikles, how's it going? Crit? Oh shit, it's Crit. Happy birthday,
shit.
Crit! I forgot to mention that earlier.
It's his birthday?
No. It was like 2 days ago, 2 days. So
Happy
I missed
belated.
it hard. I've been stuck in this zone of bull. I mean, I was about to say bullshit, but it's not. I love it, but I've been working, and doing that makes me like miss things, and I feel so bad.
Don't feel bad, man. I'm sure he understands.
Well, I mean, like, you know what really makes me feel bad, and this actually relates to Tyler. Me and him and Comics were making a comic, right? Back in during the dead time of Destiny, back when we had a little bit of a content drought, and before I didn't have was loaded down with work and all that crap. And that just died because like I couldn't do it due to Mylon was like, oh yeah, here's like 15 things. And I was like, shit.
I think we all got slammed with stuff at the same time, though.
Yeah, probably. Anyway.
Good?
I'm doing good, Raz.
Shoot, this is episode 5, right?
Is it 6
Cinco.
or 5?
6, I think.
6? Oh my gosh. I'm
Thanks.
losing track.
You ready?
Let's do it.
Looking for the episode name.
All right, the way we usually do it for recording, we just do a quick countdown. It's usually 1, 2, 3, press record, and then 1, 2, 3, clap. That way we get a marker so I can splice them all together.
I'll just
Yep.
right in the microphone.
Yep. That's what I
Cause a
usually
big old
do.
Spike.
Most people will do like a big clap, and I'm just like, because literally anything is gonna create a giant.
Yeah, just
spike.
like kind of flick your mic a little bit. That's all it takes. Just like,
Yep. But when everybody's ready,
When Ruby's done.
Sorry, I was writing the name of the file so that I could just start recording.
oh sure, you're fine. We're just hanging.
Tap, tap, tap. I know.
Tap,
I'm
tap,
sorry.
taparoo. Do either of you two have any of the questions from that you were discussing earlier? That way we have them.
Yeah.
Because I didn't write them down in the show notes, but
Yes.
since they came out of your brains, I figured,
Gotcha.
I'm just going to ask the
Oh,
first
okay.
one, and then you guys can go ahead
Yeah.
right into it, and then we'll go into the body.
Joe
gotcha.
spilled the beans. He didn't tell me what these topics were, but he said y'all were going crazy with questions.
Super
ideas.
excited. Super excited. All right. So when you guys are ready, we'll do the countdown and everything and start recording. Get rolling.
Gotcha.
All right.
Good.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Press record. 3,
Hang on,
2.
hang on.
We're in. Start over.
All right. Sorry, my computer was like for a second.
Starting over?
I'm just keeping it recording, and we'll just match up when we snap.
I see.
Okay.
I see. Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Press record. 3, 2, 1. Clap. All right. We got it. Nailed it. So, dude, first I just want to say, and now that we're recording and everything, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, it's such a pleasure to have you on. I can't express that enough. I mean, you do so much creative stuff every day. I mean, man, I can't even express it. I mean, the work you do is absolutely amazing. I don't know how you do it.
Well, I read the show notes, and I know that some of the future questions will pertain to this. I don't want to spoil those, but
Yeah,
I'm just glad to be here because I love the work y'all do individually.
well, thank you, man.
Because like Tyler's busy as hell, right? And he still comes up with, and he's starting to do more of those like environmental pieces, like those clouds and that storm with the jet thing.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
I like the one
love
with the
them.
dolphin.
That was good
That
too.
was sweet.
Yeah.
And I don't know where she is on the screen, but to me she's above me, which I know I think she's like down there or something. But Ruby coming up with these super cute, creative little like pixel things all the time.
Yeah.
Fantastic, right?
I'm inspired by all of you.
Yeah,
Shut
you've
up,
been
just take the
rocking out some awesome pixel
We're
art
just
lately.
talking about this.
We just said this, and Joe naturally, like I know for a fact how busy you are, right? With all of your different like organization stuff for the mental health and charity communities and stuff like that. Like the fact that I'm here, I think is a gift because I'm like I don't even know how y'all have the time to do this.
It's because we love to do it. We all find time to do something that we're all passionate about, and it's one of the things is art. So it's really just a great opportunity for all of us to actually sit down and have these conversations, which happen usually organically on their own, but just having this forum, I mean, I don't get to listen to podcasts that often or any sort of, content that talks explicitly just on art. So it's really a great opportunity. I re-listen to the episodes at least 2 or 3 times myself, and I edit them, and I don't even count that. I just love listening to the stories and everything. It's just epic. But
I'm gonna sorry to break you off, but
No,
I'm gonna
go
tell
ahead.
you right now before we get too far into this, I totally cheated. I went and saw Farian's podcast before we got started.
Oh, did
Like,
you?
when you were like, "Hey, would you like to go on?" I was like, "Yeah." I went back and watched like Farian's, and I was like, "It's gotta be fun. It's gonna be great." but I kind of like a.
I'm glad you thought that because that was like the most technically difficult one we've had so far.
It looked like it.
Like everything was failing, at least for me. And I know Joe was struggling like before we even started.
Streamlabs was not friendly that Monday night. I'm telling you right now, it was not cooperating at all. So I had to rebuild everything just in OBS, and it's like, I'm so sorry, guys. Don't judge me.
My Mac decided to take a giant turd halfway through. That was fun.
Man,
Yeah,
just
and
from
then
what
he
I've seen
hung
so
out in the
far.
chat the rest of the time. It was kind of cool.
I was a pleb.
Just from what I've seen so far, this is just this episode looks awesome, visually stunning, and I think we got Ruby mostly to thank for that.
Well, I gotta thank
Yes.
you. You surprised us the other night. You spent a couple hours making a animation because you wanted to add something to the podcast. Which everybody that's in the chat right now, if you're watching the video later on YouTube, that animation of our logo in the middle, Gammatrap surprised us the other night with that little gift right there and actually made us a media source animation, which is super epic. I'm telling you, that's going to be a staple from here on every single stream. I'm telling you right now.
Until one of y'all like get bored and just want to change it up, right?
Probably not.
Yeah, but as artists, we don't like to put in extra work.
Oh, okay. Hey, listen.
How was
I actually wrote a script just recently because I'm about to make a video, and part of it's about doing extra work and how it's almost necessary.
Yeah, it is.
Ooh.
So I got plenty of material here if y'all want to ask questions. Like I've got all this stuff already. These thoughts are already formulated. I've already been through all this on my own. I haven't released the video, so y'all getting like this exclusive stuff if you come around to asking questions pertaining to those topics.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
3-hour episode. I
If
like
not,
it.
I'm going to definitely be looking for that video down the road.
Yes.
For sure. I'll watch it anyways, just because. But just to bring it all back around, who or what inspired you or your passion for art?
that was I think everyone has like that generic answer. And I say generic, that's not discounting it at all. The fact that, oh, when I was a kid, I used to love drawing, comic books and stick figures and rainbows and all this stuff. And I used to love drawing puppies. And then my mom would put it on the fridge. And then I went to school and, and I had all these friends like, oh man, you draw so cool. Can you draw my shoes or whatever? And like that almost every artist, yeah, get those Sharpies and draw on those kids' shoes. I mean, anyway,
Yeah.
But yeah, like it had right. But anyway, I stopped. I actually stopped artwork, quote unquote, like actual like painting and drawing and stuff for a while because I was just focused on like graphic design, and that in the typical like brochures and flyers and pamphlet and stuff is less to do with conception and drawing and painting. It has a lot of the elements that you need to associate with it in it, but it's mostly just design. So I focus mostly on that for like from college up to I want to say like 5 years ago.
Wow.
And so I had this dead spot where I didn't practice actual art for a while. For years and years. So I only actually started drawing and painting and putting it on YouTube and stuff after I saw some YouTubers who did this stuff for like games and whatnot. Like there's this one YouTuber called like Tampliar Painter or whatever, and I hate this guy so much. I love him. Oh, it's like he does work that blows everything I'd seen up to that point out of the water, and he would spend like 37 hours on these pieces, right? Or something. And his digital work, he would continuously just go hard. He would go big and he would just condense it and go like smaller and smaller details until he was doing like filigree and crazy stuff on like the armor of a soldier that's like off in the distance. And just it blew my mind. I would just sit there and absorb all this stuff. And I'm like, I didn't know people could do this. And this was only like maybe I think 7-8 years ago when I first saw this stuff. But then I decided to try it for myself like 5 years ago, give or take. And I was horrible at it. I was okay. I was all right. But like honestly, from like where I am now, and I'm sure in the future I'm going to look back at the stuff I did now and be like, ugh. But like 5 years ago, it really was. Ugh. It was gnarly. It was upsetting. My work 5 years ago. So that's why I'm always, every time someone's like, I wish I could do what you do, it always kind of gets to me. And I'm like, listen, I wish they would just listen to me. I'm like, listen to me. You can. All right. Do you expect to live at least 5 more years? How about 3? Do you expect to live at least 3 more years?
Oh, man.
All right. If the answer is yes, or I think so, then you can get to where I am now in that amount of time. Easy. Just practice. Just do the thing. Just make things that are hard to make. Do things that are challenging for you, and you can get to what this is. Because that's essentially my path.
Where did you start as far as that path? Like, did you try going straight into just doing something difficult? Did you try references, etc.?
Let's see. I think first YouTube video I made, because I started this on YouTube. I started like 1 or 2 off YouTube, right? But I essentially started my YouTube to track my art journey, and most of those videos are private now for good reason. But it was based off just things I liked and things I thought were fun or interesting or funny or cute or whatever. Like the first video I made on YouTube, which was like my second piece I ever made in this new era of digital, was a Charizard. So most of my stuff was just out of my head. It wasn't based off things like that was specifically based off of Charizard, right? Mm-hmm. But other than that, most of my stuff was just wild imagination things, like a werewolf chick covered in gore, essentially. Not because I thought that was cool, other than the fact that it was pretty cool. But like, it's just little things that I thought were interesting, like some chick shooting guns, doing a backflip, being assaulted by dudes in military, just random things that had nothing to do with anything. If that'll answer your question.
No, that's really cool. You were doing your own art.
For the most part, yeah.
It's very interesting.
Like I think a lot of us start with fan art. Like what was it? Some of the artists we've interviewed in the past started through inspiration from comic books, for example. So it's just pretty cool to see that you just started doing your own
Jump
thing.
right into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I did fan art.
just to, I was about to say, just to ask you then, because it does sound like you tend to lean towards more just open creativity. Would you consider yourself more a concept artist or an illustrator? Because I feel like you really fit the mold of both.
I would probably consider myself an illustrator more than a concept artist because I'm thinking of new scenarios more than brand new stuff. I do think of brand new stuff from time to time, but often the stuff I make is some new elements or some creative license kind of elements,
Right.
Creative liberty on things that have already previously existed. Because I'm using that universe of like Marvel or Blizzard or whatever as a jumping off point, or Destiny, obviously, to make these other things happen. I like to make new stuff. I also like to make things that previously existed, but I mostly love telling stories with the artwork, and that's, I think, the key distinction between like a concept artist and an illustrator.
Yes.
One of the key
I
distinctions.
agree with that. Yeah.
Yes. I love the storytelling aspect of illustrations. I think that's also what grasps. Like, I love storytelling, but I've never been good with writing words, or at least liking my own writing. So I just draw the story like that.
I think that's how a lot of people who really like artwork start. Obviously, not all of them, but like, for example, whenever someone asks me like, hey, how do I know that if I can make artwork like that? I'm like, well, do you, and it's going to get super specific, do you, when you're driving to work or whatever, or church or the store, when you're driving, if you're by yourself, do you listen to music really like get you pumped or really funny, and you in your head think of a scenario of like this epic battle or this funny moment,
Heck yeah.
or whatever, and you just run that through your head, and it's crazy, it gives you chills, and you think that's so cool, it's a shame no one's made it, and you get mad because you're like, I can't actually see this, and you're worried that you're going to forget this really cool moment, so you want to go home and paint it.
Yes.
And just
No
see
one
every
else is gonna
artist
make
listening
it.
to this being like, oh my gosh, he knows me.
Yeah, it's like, do you also like to dunk all your cereal before you eat it? Oh,
That's funny.
Uh,
No, I always joke around with my wife and say there's a theme song playing in my head for every situation, and it's basically because of that. Like
Right.
you said, you're already thinking of like movie scenarios for everything.
oh yeah.
that happened to me earlier at work, actually. I was listening to odd documentaries, and it inspired a story. And I think that's going to happen later on, though. For now, it's a secret.
I want to ask.
Cliffhanger.
I just want to see it.
Okay.
But just think about the stories that you could like, because I always thought about I messed around with like I'm telling secrets now. I used to go into those moments with like having scenarios and stuff play out in your head, that I actually took a class in college for writing scripts and this and that, and just writing classes to try, and my whole goal was to capture those and develop a story out of them. And I have two that have literally not moved from a bookshelf in like 15 years.
Well,
But
I happen
I
to
got
know
him
someone
down.
that I don't know if you know this, but I happen to know somebody that you know who can make a comic book.
Hmm.
This is gonna surprise you, but I mean, I don't want to name names. Yeah, probably.
You could probably do one on that.
Way to divert attention, T.
You know, it's the sugar from the iced tea.
Anyway,
There you go.
But yeah, stories are if you're stuck either visually or mentally thinking, and oftentimes when you mentally think, you think it visually, unless I guess you're blind, and that's just a weird conundrum. You have to ask them. But if you're stuck with a story in your head and you want to see it, whether or not it's going to be written or visually seen, and you want to portray it because it's not out there yet, and it makes you a little upset that it's not out there yet, I think that's the thing that can push a lot of people into illustrating or learning how to illustrate for just those moments. And a lot of the stuff that I make are based off those rides. Like, I love car rides. Like, I drive the Guardian Con, the 18 whatever hours. I love it. Just so I can just sit there and like autopilot at night, right? When the roads are safe, I just be like, driving and looking out and just watching the road and thinking to myself, like, these colossal beings crashing down into the earth and armies fighting over, like, territory. I was like,
freaking epic.
And like some crazy like anime chick running up the vertical thing of just gonna punch a dude in the face. Just crazy stuff.
I wonder what the rules are gonna be once cars are like auto driving. Are you gonna just draw while it drives?
I will draw on the way to work every day.
That needs to be a product.
Hour and a half. Yeah, I would love it.
I'm pretty sure once we get to the point of cars auto driving safely with minimal risk to no risk, which probably never happened, the whole no risk thing, but there's probably going to come a point in about 5 years or whatever after that's mainstream, that cars will have Wi-Fi. And if that's the case, you absolutely bet that there's going to be attachments for your tablets to just like work.
You play Battleship with the guy driving next to you?
Yeah. So cool. But yeah, no, there's gonna
on the
be
highway
media.
with you.
Yeah, but because there's gonna be internet in your self-driving car, and you just have to get your body from A to B, there's gonna be stuff in there to keep your mind focused on things. So that's where podcasts are really gonna explode, probably a little more than they already have. Most podcasts are listened to on the road or at work.
Yep.
So if there's nothing to do to focus on while you're driving, that's when media like podcasts and stuff, as well as probably games and certain consoles, probably will get attachments to where they can be done in the car while you're getting from A to B. So you bet I'm going to be drawing the whole time.
Well, to come back to the art and Aless from the future. So as an illustrator, I've noticed your color palettes are really dramatic colors most of the time. I feel like your colors really pop and they really help emphasize what you're drawing. Do you do that purposely, or is that just kind of subconscious? You like, bright clashing designs? I don't know.
It started off on accident because I think a lot of artists are like this. I talked to Brian a lot about this back in the day. I've been working on him since I met him. I was like, you just throw some color in there. Just throw some color in there. And he's like, I don't know. I don't like colors. I like colors, so I don't think I can do them. Whenever we talked about it, and everyone's talked to Brian about throwing colors. I'm so glad he has now. All of his work now. I demand colors. But when I first, like him, I wasn't comfortable with colors. I had no idea about color theory. I still don't technically grasp color theory very well, I don't think. But in all my pieces now, though, now that I've had more time, more experience, more thought, I try to have at least muted colors and then a handful of really bright colors. And they don't have to be that bright. Like, they don't have to be like the brightest of reds to clash, like to be popped out when you have these blues that are really muted, more like a blue-green. They could just be like a medium orange, and they'll still pop because they've got that. It's like that, right? If this is a very very small camera, but that's Fickrel. That's my Fickrel piece. I can actually pull it up in a second, but it's completely based off this theory that I've started to kind of formulate, where any color that you want to have like focus towards, you make the other colors a little more muted, right? And that's pretty much it. And then I also like to have at least one really flashy thing in every one of my pieces, like blindingly bright. And that's actually gotten to a bit of a problem. I'm sitting there like throwing all this crazy colors and stuff on like one section of the piece, and it's too bright. And I'm like, I get upset. I'm like, I gotta dial that down a little bit.
Well, I feel like style-wise, your last piece was incredible, and what you're talking about with having that one pop of color that just really like grabs you, the red cloth, like you said, the muted skin tones, and then the orange hair kind of starts leading you towards that red cloth, and then the red is just like blood red. It is nice. And I was staring at that thing for hours. I was just like, I don't understand how this is working, but it is beautiful, and I couldn't like take my eyes away from it.
I think I blame Dave Greco. If no one knows who Dave Greco is, which if you're an artist at this point, you probably should. He's a lead. I think he's like the lead concept artist for he's making Crowfall, which is an MMO, a PvP based MMO in the future. But he's also a YouTuber and he streams here on Twitch. And he's been pushing, like he's been moving more stylized artwork, and he's been kind of documenting this journey. And whenever he makes a tutorial, it's based off this stylized approach to artwork, and the way he handles colors, the way he handles exaggerated poses and stuff like that. It inspired me to try and like push my more, I guess, artsy side.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why that pose and the colors and that really flashy blue, like it all kind of reads pretty well, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you made a conscious decision like a couple months ago, right, to start pushing more stylized artwork because you were like, the screenshot identity is kind of taking over, and you wanted to show people like, dude, I can crank out some stylized work as well.
Yeah, no, it was bugged me a little bit. I did an Anthem piece, and this wasn't the first one. The first one I think that really got a lot of traction was my Prince Aldrin I made. Mm-hmm. And it was based off the whole after he shot Cade kind of cinematic with the fire and the barons and whatever, and he's just sitting there with the gun, and people just like scrolled past, and they were like, I've seen that. And if they took the time to look, like it's not precise, and there's elements in that image that are not in the screenshot of the moment, because like there weren't actual barons behind him in that shot, and just everything was. It was painted, and I recorded the whole process of me painting it from scratch. Yeah, and I was like, "Look, it's not a screenshot. I did this myself." And people were like, "Oh, okay," and it kind of bugged me. I'm like, "All right, no one does that." Oh, okay. If it's like clearly stylized and not based off like reality.
Yeah. No, I think that's like a really good point, especially with how much.
There we go.
Concept artists are starting to pull in like photo elements and things like that. I think a lot of people get almost desensitized to it. So when they see super stylistic stuff like the painting you're showing right now, I think it almost grabs their attention more.
Yeah.
Versus before, back in the day, if you did like photorealistic, people were like, "Oh my gosh, it's so real."
Yeah. Yeah. This, by the way, this is the piece that Tyler was talking about with the whole red and all that stuff.
Look at it, and it's so good.
But that was me pushing my stylized bit. But this is actually, I made this because I'd taken like a week off everything, and it was supposed to just start off as a quick little sketch. I don't know why it turned into this. I'm cool with it though. I'm happy,
dude. Watching that develop was just so epic because you just laid down early last week, I think, or maybe the weekend prior to that, just a brief, just the body of her with the tattoos and everything, and her laying down her form, and watching just it develop over and over. And then you threw the shattered glass in, and I'll tell you what, that shattered glass like tied it all together. I don't even know how you were able to get the reflections that you did in each piece. I mean, it's absolutely epic. I want that on my wall.
I've organized it to where it can be accessible through like prints and wallpapers and phone wallpapers, and I gave all that away for free. because like I didn't plan on this being anything special, and I'm glad
But like,
people.
where do you buy a print?
I haven't set the print up, but they're already. And they're not ready, but like they're ready to be uploaded. But the reflections are cool because I just put the shapes in there and I handled the light like reflecting off the rims.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, I just kind of used my lasso tool and grabbed the inside and then copied the main image here, added it on a new layer, made a clipping mask to where it fit just there, and I adjusted the angle so it was more realistic. But every reflection is something different. Like that's not really what her face looks like. Like that's like a demon.
Whoa, I see it.
Right? And like here's her hand, right? Kind of gently tickling the knife, you could say. And then here it's more grasping with her finger in the loop and the fingers wrapped around it. And then here it's been used. Right? Like it's
Ooh, that's dark.
Oh, it's all bloody.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Dude, I didn't even notice this, and I've been looking at it for like
I know, right? I think
Yeah,
the
no,
I was
focus
just
is
thinking
on
the same
her.
thing.
see, this is actually something I wrote in my little script about this piece about story elements. It's really cool because you notice in the first version of this, her arm here wasn't there, right? It was just buried in the sheets. But I wanted to add story elements. So I figured the best way to do that was to take her arm out and lead into this like lovely, like this great triangle shape. And your focus originally was up here, right? But now it kind of draws down here.
Yeah.
So that makes your eyes kind of move around a bit more of the piece.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now I got to make another point from here to somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so I added the knife, right? And I gave it a ribbon, kind of like a rope knife. It's like an old like wushu weapon or whatever. And that with the ribbon kind of made your eyes walk around the piece a little bit more. And then I added the glass. And then here's the fun story element. You'll notice there's no glass on the sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and she's super confident. She doesn't give she doesn't give a crap. But the only thing on her is petals, right? And you can tell there's like magic at work here because like all the reflections are different. So the part of the story elements is like maybe this magic that she's doing is turning the glass into petals, while they're falling down. But it's just interesting things like that to kind of to make your pieces probably a little more like immersive in a way. It holds the audience's attention, and more often than not, they don't notice these things. Like you guys didn't notice the glass, but you're sitting there, you're drawn to it, and you're thinking, "Wow, I could look at all these pieces for these elements, the glass and the her and the knife and stuff for a while." And you sit there and examine it for a while, or you don't, or you just really like it the first time and you walk off. But for the people who want to enjoy and examine it, it gives them something fresh to look at every second they're looking at it. Like this is not that, or this bloody bit's not this, and that's not that. Like it's all different, it's all new, it's all fresh.
How long does this piece take you?
In
Just
total?
out of curiosity. Yeah, start to finish.
Start to finish, I think. Honestly, it took me like the time when you're just sitting there leaning back. It's padded because I got my blue screen up again. Give me a second, I'll fix that. But it's padded because you'll sit there and you'll just stare at your own work for so long, thinking, and that's the biggest problem.
That's kind of the process, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a process, but it's like it makes it hard to tell like how long a piece actually took. But if I had to guess, because I didn't record this piece and it made me really upset that I didn't.
It's like, damn.
I'm like, this is a good piece. What did I? Anyway, but I digress. If I had to guess,
does it for you.
Man, maybe I don't have
Are we
any
allowed
Apple
to shout out
products.
products on the podcast? I don't know.
We've been doing it on every other one.
Right.
Not sponsored by Procreate.
Yeah.
But I think this piece took me close to like 15 to 20 hours max. Most likely not.
So
Most likely around 15. Yeah, let's go 17. Right in that little middle ground.
Nice. That's awesome. So 17 hours. How many days are in a year? I'm just kidding.
For a while there,
3
for a
days.
while. Yeah, no, it was great. It's like for a while there, I took a bit of time off Twitch to focus just on my YouTube. I took like a month off, or no, not that much. I took like 2 weeks, or whatever, off. But no, maybe a month. Anyway, I focused on my YouTube, so I'd make a piece, and I'd do the video editing and the uploading, and the video editing uploading would take like a day and a half, and the piece would take like a day and a half. Oftentimes, just one session because they're kind of small. And I made like 7 videos, I think, 5 to 7 videos, and I just wanted to kind of push myself and to being able to stylize more. And this me moving from more realistic pieces to more stylized pieces, I wasn't confident in my ability, so I took time off to do that. I just like took a little hiatus off like performing live like on Twitch, and just forced myself to go hard in this other direction. And I'm glad I did. But it's just something that I felt like I needed to do. I'm sorry if I get off topic, by the way.
No, that's awesome.
No.
Fine.
It actually kind of leads into some of our other questions.
Oh, feel free. I literally have all night, so this podcast can last as long as y'all want.
So hey,
Don't tell us that.
I have heard. I don't know if it's true. Maybe. You do art full time.
Oh, is that what you heard? It sounded like you were going to lead into it.
It did sound like there was a second part to that
Sorry.
question.
Yeah, you do art full time.
And
And you're a space pirate. No.
Tell us about
Yes,
it.
no.
Damn. No, but yeah, that's true.
whoa, when did that happen?
That happened after me and Mylan made that comic book, the Eye of the Exo comic. we had this really interesting idea.
I love that piece.
He'd been bugging me since we met if I wanted to make a comic with him. That was like a year and a half to 2 years, I think. No, I think it was about a year to a year and a half since we started working together. Which I did all that for free, by the way. I mean, I did free art. I know. All right, I don't want to hear it from anybody. Yeah, I did free art. I did free art from Island for exposure. No, it wasn't really for exposure. It was partially for exposure. But mostly it was because I sucked. And that guy gave me direction.
Oh,
I thought I was terrible, and I was pretty bad. I was inexperienced, and I needed reasons to work more towards being better. And so I knew the quality of my work was pretty bad. Most of like my earlier stuff was photo bashing, which is a combination of painting, drawing, 3D, photo manipulation, design, and and you combine all those and make a piece in like a matte painting. It's what the game concept artists and stuff do all the time to make a piece as fast as possible, make it look good, and send out the door.
that sounds like a good thing.
It is a good thing, but I wanted to paint all of it.
Okay,
And so I went, they're both good, I think, but I went more from like photo bashing to trying to make strictly art from nothing to something, right? Without any external choices or programs or assets. Yeah. So I did work for that first year for free. He bugged me. He wanted to pay me. He was like, "This feels wrong." I was like, "I don't care what you think." It's like if you give me money, I'm gonna give it back. And he's like, "Yeah, but like," because he had like 60,000 subscribers then. And so we spent like a year or so making this sort of portfolio, you could say. And it was great because I got to be better. I got to improve my skills a lot, I think, strictly because we did all that work. And so after about a year, I was like, all right, I think we're good. We can make the comic book, right? And I did almost everything for that comic book. He set the direction, and he was the director. And then he had a friend of his who was a writer. And we found a guy to do the voice acting. And they made the stuff. The voice actor wrote the scripts. I drew all the art, all the assets, and I drew them in separate layers so I can make a parallax kind of animation to where like you see the background, you see the main character kind of doing this in the video. I did all the video effects, and also I did all the sound editing. So I got the voice, I made him sound like an X, so I equipped all the soundtrack from Destiny and I meshed them together to make this cohesive storyline into this great, cool video. And after that, I was like, all right, now you can pay me. and so we set up this Patreon idea. So now I get paid his Patreon up to if we ever get to this point of $2,500 a month, which we haven't reached anywhere near that. If we get that, then he'll pay me that, and if we go over that, he keeps the rest. We don't make that on Patreon a month, but he's my like main source. Like he's my biggest source of income. I also make some money based off like the client work I do for commissions from time to time. When I've got time, he takes my priority because we have this deal to where if he needs any visual effects at all, he can just ask me, and I just make it. So like for editing, for video or for paint, right? Anything. So I also do like overlays and animations and stuff. Like last one I did, that was really cool, was for Riot, T1 Riot. He was part of the T1 crew who did the world's first Scourge raid.
Yeah.
And that was cool. A lot of fun. Love that guy. And I do a couple of stuff from other stuff, but it's nice.
I'll tell you
it's
what.
Low stress.
What you were able to create with Mylan, the two of you combined have really opened up just the visual aid of the Destiny lore. Because I know Mylan is primarily based in Destiny, but he does dabble in other things and other lores and this and that. But
yeah, we made some stuff
never,
for like Monster Hunter World.
I'm one of those people that I could read a book cover to cover and not get one mental picture from the words. I can listen to a book and get it differently hearing it, but reading it, I can't. I lose something in translation. But having those art pieces have just painted every single picture and actually put me in that environment and in that situation where it's like, I know the lore, I've read it, and it's like, I know what this is, and it's like, oh my god, now I can visualize it when I read it now. And I always think of each one of those pieces that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of the reason we got started on this whole thing.
Well, I just got to thank you for that, because I'll tell you what, I would have never have seen that stuff if it wasn't for you and Mylan coming together and making these pieces, and they're absolutely incredible. They just keep getting better and better, and man, some of the stuff you guys are putting out now with the darkness and everything, just, I don't want to get wrapped up in Destiny, but
we actually want to make it darker. Like one of my most popular pieces for that, right, was the Dead Ghost, which is just this ghost who's cracked up and lights coming out and seeping in. It's in the, I don't remember what it's called, the solarium or whatever in Titan, with the greenhouse essentially, and a Thrall ripping him apart, literally ripping his arms off. On Instagram, which is not, I wouldn't say it's on my main platform, but it's the one I have the most followers on. But like on Instagram, that one has like one of the best reactions, like biggest, like people sharing that, people loving it, people sending it to their friends. People love that one.
I'll tell you what, you don't see that stuff, so it's really amazing.
Yeah, it's not geared to be dark, but the story is really dark from time to time. So like the more adult audience, more mature audience, who like to break it down and say, that's super dark. I kind of wish we could see like what's at stake in the game. We're slowly starting to move more towards the more kind of like mature adult kind of like
audience.
Yeah, it's tough. It's interesting. I was sitting there. I showed Matt the Mylan, by the way. I showed Mylan the rough draft, like I always do before it, and yes, it clearly showed this dude, his arm here, his other part of his arm a little bit over there, and he was like, "Cool." And I was like, "Will this work on YouTube?"
He's like, "Do it
on YouTube. Your family friendly content." And he was like, "It's in the background."
That's funny.
He was cool with it.
That's pretty cool.
But then you also have this other Bob Ross side where you're like drawing a werewolf in a cornfield, and you're like, let's make a happy post. Let's put a post right here. What should this post look like? And you're interacting with the chat, and you're getting out other people's perspectives, and what you're kind of playing off of, the audience that are tuning in for that. And you're like, yeah, let's put a happy little shed back here.
A nice little. How about a little old wheelbarrow?
You have such an entertaining
rusted
stream. You really do. It's actually very interactive. Like, you'll forget about doing an art piece, and you'll be talking with the chat for about 45 minutes. You're like, okay, we should probably get back to drawing this happy fence post here.
Yeah, it could be a bit of a problem. I think, like, some people think it's a problem. It's bad for efficiency. But one of the things I love about this is the fact that you can communicate with people live in person while you're working. And sometimes sometimes what I work on is actually for Mylan. Sometimes it's just for me. Sometimes it's for another client or another person. But if I'm streaming it, that's open invitation to just start any random conversation because I love it.
That's funny. What's funny is that I feel like people get a lot of your personality when you share some of the rough drafts that you send Mylan. Like, for example, there was one where you sent him like stick figures. He asked for something and you sent him like stick figures, and you're like, this should work, right? And he was like, yeah. But you do it pretty often, and I think it's pretty cool to see kind of not only like the inside sense of humor, but like how you set up a piece, how it's kind of just super rough and loose, and then the next minute the video comes out and the piece looks ridiculously detailed. And you're like, well, okay, I didn't see that coming.
Neither did I. What's great is, like, we make these he's gotten to a point where maybe it's a little entitled, Mylan, chill, but it's where he's like, hey, on that rough draft piece you send me for confirmation, just make sure that we're on the same page of what this piece is going to look like. Be yourself, be stupid, be funny, so I can share it, and then we can raise hype for the video. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. But, like, here's the thing. Sometimes I don't want to do it because that's actually a reward for one of the tiers for our patrons. They get to see the behind the scenes stuff. And we don't share all of it on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Right, naturally, but some stuff he can't help himself. Like, we were doing this one with Mithrax, or Misrax, however you want to pronounce it, which was that fallen captain who's kind of on your side. I did the rough draft to him. I got a silhouette of the fallen captain situation, and I put these, like, deal with it shades on him, just stuff like that. He's like, all right,
He's like,
and I think that was the first one where he posted on Twitter, and people loved it. And then there was another one with, like, Riven. No one had painted Riven up to that point. It was so hard. I had to watch every stream of, like, the first raid. I couldn't find references. I had to take like 17 screenshots. It was stupid. I made
when
like
it first came out, it was hard finding any references on him.
Yeah, because she took up like almost the whole screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah. So I had to take like 7 or 8 different, 12 I think, screenshots, whatever, and I had to like puzzle piece them together. And I was like, I hope this works. And I had to like look for like these. I had to find fuzzy footage of like, because she's in motion, just like charging through the jaw attack, whatever, through the doorway. And I'm like, okay, give me that. And it's fuzzy. But like, I can use that perspective to kind of like warp these other screenshots around her to try and fit it on like paper mache. But I made like 3 or 4 rough drafts. And the one he loved the most was her just sticking her head in there, like, well, howdy, old stranger mine. One of my friends. And this guy's like, whoa, just jumping back. And so he shared that one, and that one got a lot of hype. And the next one was was Sure, SJUR, which was like Mara's like lover or whatever, on the like with the bow, aiming down at Mara, and it's like the whole like Hanzo. I don't remember how to say it. He actually had to spell it out for me. This was his idea. Mylan didn't credit himself. He used to think he was funny, but then he realized he wasn't funny. But sometimes I think he secretly is kind of funny. You know? Because he'll like, oh, can you throw this in there? I'm like, I got you. And that's when Hanzo's like, and just throws his dragon things or whatever.
Yeah,
it was great. But yeah, that's become kind of a thing now.
That's funny.
I love hearing how much fun you guys have
Yeah.
doing this together. It's just absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's inspiring to hearing people collaborate and just have a great time with it.
Sometimes it gets a little serious.
Well, those moments will come.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad they do. It keeps us on our toes.
Yeah.
It's sort of part of just what kind of makes the industry of entertainment. I think the entertainment industry, which is hard to think of yourself in, but when you're in a position where you're having to constantly make YouTube videos, it kind of is in the entertainment industry, but the small one.
So like game devs and other industry professionals always talk about crunch time. Do you feel like you experience that even on a smaller level, or is it full force as well?
No, we do, and oftentimes it can be self-inflicted, and I kind of do that a little on purpose sometimes. I personally love high stress situations. I know some people really hate it. Some people are okay with it, but they'd rather not deal with it. But some people love it. Like if I've got 17 things to do and I've got 10 minutes to do it, I feel alive. I feel good. I feel like, yeah, let's go. Because I get really hyped. So I know I can't push because my quality, I guess, of work has increased. So I'm sitting there spending more time on work. So I know I can't just pump out a piece in 4 hours. I can, but it won't be up to my level of standards anymore. But every so often, we'll have like 3 or 4 videos lined up. And he'll be like, all right, so we're going to release this one week 1, and these 2 will be week 2, and then this one will be week 3. I'm like, nah, fuck it, all week 1. He's like, oh, well, I don't think I can do that. And I'm like, come on. But it's interesting. But yeah, there's a bit of a crunch time involved from time to time. But we try not to let it happen too much for the sake of each other. Sometimes he gets crunched because he's got a lot of stuff on his plate, the poor guy. Like a lot of stuff. And I've just got this. Right? It takes me hours and hours and hours and hours and hours for some of this stuff. Whereas for him to make the video, he needs to research it, which takes hours. And then he needs to write the script, which can take like another hour or 2. And then he needs to record it. Then he needs to find the footage that pertains to the situation. Then he needs to do the video editing. So it could take him like 8 hours or more, or less sometimes, for a video. And it could take me about 8 hours, sometimes more, sometimes less, for the painting. So we try and kind of make sure each other has a little bit of room to wiggle. So we don't have that much crunch time anymore. We've done crunch before. Sometimes it worked great. Sometimes it worked like horribly bad. So we've kind of mistakes.
Well, with working on all the different pieces and everything, I just have to ask, and I know a lot of people are thinking this too. Maybe not everybody. A lot of people. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'll cut my rambling down. Don't you worry. It won't even be in the final cut.
Just ramble. Put the whole thing in it. If someone farts, I want to see that in the video.
Really?
Anyway,
just leave everything.
I say leave everything unless something like happens, like someone walks in, or like someone's kids start crying or something. Just I say just keep it.
Leave that. No.
Like I shouldn't have muted my mic and turned my camera off when I was wrestling with my chair, and the chair won. I should have left it. Yeah,
the chair won.
It did win.
Do you got like a new bruise on your cheek?
It's on my like outside thigh. But
on his knee.
No!
I'll man up.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
With your setup, what tools do you use?
Like hardware?
Yeah. Like your hardware and like what's your setup? Can you describe it a little bit?
Absolutely.
I'm trying to peek.
Coming into my crib. All right, but we've got my PC.
Hold on, now you have to do an MTV crib intro.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Gamma. Anyway, but we've got my PC, which it's just got a 1070 Ti graphics card, a Ryzen 7 CPU, 32 gigs of RAM, simple stuff. And I've got this Huion Canvas Kamvas GT like 191. What's one of her earlier? I think it's one of their first canvas models.
Is that this same one Young Khan uses?
No, his have buttons. Mine no buttons.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember what. I think he might either he uses Huion or XP Pin. I don't remember which one he uses. But they're both Wacom competitors.
Gotcha.
That's tablet number 1. Then I've got an XP Pin Art Deco 1. It's a screenless tablet. It's like a classic tablet, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one's great. And then I've got like 2 other tablets like that. A small old bamboo Wacom, and then a bigger Intuos Wacom. And I've got an Arzal. I don't remember what it was, but it's an old one. I actually did all of the comic book we made with Mylan on that Arzal tablet of mine, and that's the smaller one with the screen on it. I actually got Khan, different artist. I got Khan to get that one for a while too, nice. But it started getting kind of funky, and I think he changed his out for the same reasons I did. It's I don't know, drivers or something were getting a little weird. I feel bad for actually suggesting that to him. But then I've got my second monitor, which is actually my main monitor. 27 inches monitor. I've got my Stream Deck with all my buttons and fantastic little switches. I've got a keyboard, a mouse, stylus, comes with all that stuff. I've got this A2035 microphone hooked up to a Behringer. Yeah, Behringer. What's the freaking audio interface? There we go. And all that does is it takes this condenser microphone and turns its audio signal into a digital format to be read through my computer. I don't have preamps. I don't have all this extra stuff. I could, I guess, but it's not necessary.
That is a pretty epic setup.
Yeah, but then I also got my lights and my Logitech Brio, my camera. And then I think we are done.
No wonder you're so bright and everything in there. I'm sitting here, I got monitor light and my little salt lamp in the corner right now. Because I like
What's funny is I think that now at the moment, I was watching your Farron's thing, and I was subtly judging you. No, I was sitting there like, okay, Ruby's got a cool setup because her background's, pretty bland, and she contrasts with it very well because she wears colors. Tyler's got a cool. I'm pointing over here, but on the screen.
You like my flower curtains? I dig it.
I think the blinds behind you are fantastic because it offers the same kind of contrast as Ruby. And then I love your freaking salt lamp, Joe. I think it frames your face perfectly.
I love it.
So I mean, y'all guys are fine. So I wouldn't say judging. I would say
microscoping. Gotcha.
Yeah, here we go.
There is not one square, I'd say, 4-inch space on any of the walls in here that are not surrounded by art pieces that people in the community have made, or pieces that I've gotten from other artists.
Yeah,
I would say, yeah, that's so cool. This is kind of like a bigger office. I've got a bunch of people's art pieces, and I try to make them in frame as much as possible. Behind my head are some smaller pieces, and then above that whiteboard are more pieces. And I've got these big things on the wall, and I've got on the door, and I've got some I have yet to put up because I ran out of friggin' frames and tacks and stuff. But I've got more Brian's pieces, more Cobb pieces. It's just,
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, go to Guardian Con.
Go to Guardian Con.
I know,
Yeah.
Tyler. You've got. Wait, are you going this year?
No.
Oh, I thought you were. Damn it,
I
Tyler.
wanted to, and then they changed the date from when they normally had it and moved it up like 2 weeks, and I had already planned a family vacation for that same weekend, and I was like, you bastards.
Yeah.
We'll change it. I mean,
Right.
Change it.
no, I'm just
Bring
messing
them
with you. Are you
to
going?
Disney for the family vacation, and then just slide in.
It's in Orlando.
Here, you
We're
guys go
going
to
to-
Epcot. I've been there before. I'm gonna hang out at the hotel. Gamma, pick me up.
Yeah. I got
Brian
my
was telling
car.
me
I'll
to
go.
where we're going, we're going to be mountain biking. And Brian was like, you better be mountain biking all the way to Florida. I was like, I think I'll be a little late.
That is some Brian shit to say. Ruby, are you going?
I should be going. I'm working on it. I've got a lot of the things already set up, like the hotel. I'm working on it. I'll let you
Nice.
know.
Yes. But this goes out to the other people in the community. Like I want Sparkles, if he's still in chat, I want Sparkles to make prints and bring him.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I don't care if you got a booth.
Stickers.
Do what Ian did.
Just trench coat. Sell your stickers.
Yeah, a lot of the artists are pairing up this year, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. That's a great way. It's fantastic. What Ian did last year was awesome. He just showed up with stuff in his pocket full of his work. I still got it. I still got it right down there. I love it. Like I've got his Eris Morn.
Great.
That's genius. And I was like, dude, yes. And I just gave him one of my prints, and I was like, trade, give me that.
Oh yeah, he was giving away cards, I think, right?
Yeah, like it was like some like thick cards. It was awesome.
That is so funny.
Yeah, but while we're there, you don't have to do this. Other artists in the community, some of you know me, some of you don't, I guess maybe, but we just like trade art.
Yeah.
I'll try and buy it, just like most of the other artists try and buy mine. I don't let them, and they don't let me very much. So it's just
hoping I could send some stuff with Jay. He gave away like a few prints last year, which was cool.
Yeah, do it. I'm excited. I've got some more blank space on my walls. I feel bad for Joe.
Dude, I have so many more prints that I'm gonna have to reorganize everything just so I can try and fit it. Dude, it's there's not gonna be a square inch left on any of these walls after I
have you considered
knocking down that wall and expanding
no,
the rest of the wall?
He's going full on like remodel.
You can.
That's not a load bearing wall. I've already looked into it.
I was gonna just suggest getting like a board to cover your blinds and just like putting art on that board.
Oh.
I was thinking of making the blinds a print.
There we go. Make it. Oh, that'd be so cool.
Oh yeah.
I have new blinds. I got
the other way. It's another.
Big wooden ones that I have to put up. I'm just lazy. It's really high up there. I'm tall, but not that tall. I'll have to get the ladder. But anyways, sorry for derailing and everything. But what tools do you use, and is there any techniques that you can share with anybody?
And software.
Software is
Ruby's peeking up at her screen a little more. Like software, I can see the screen just a little bit right there.
Software I use are just pretty much Adobe. I use
For
Premiere.
what Adobe? Oh, sorry.
I use Premiere for video editing for the big stuff, and then for the special effects and visual effects, I use After Effects.
Yeah.
I made your pixel logo in After Effects. It's super. I use Illustrator for vector work, like logos and shirts, and I use. Me and Illustrator go way back. Before I was working full time as an artist, I was working full time at a screen print place, and I worked on 250 shirts a day for like 3 or 4 years. Me and shirts go way back. I know everything about that industry.
Hell yeah.
Before that, I worked on signage at Fast Signs. I would make stuff for like billboards. So me and the print industry, we tight.
Oh my.
I hate Corel. I might get crap for that, but I hate it.
But Painter, even though it's buggy.
I don't use Painter. I use Photoshop.
I feel like every artist over 30 was just like cringing at you saying, I hate Corel.
I hate Corel.
What are you talking about?
What do you mean? People have
incredibly
actually gotten
buggy.
so mad at me.
Yeah.
On site, at work. Like, all right, so if you open this Corel, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not gonna do that.
Oh.
It's a Corel file. Print it. I'll scan it and I'll remake it in these better programs. I don't care. I'm not gonna touch your Corel. I've gotten some weird stuff. People have drawn on napkins and sent that in. Like, yeah, can you make that?
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, I guess.
You're like, well,
I guess.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but yeah, no. The Adobe suite is the best bang for my buck personally, and I'm not like a huge Adobe fanboy. They've done some weird shit that I'm not a big fan of, so I'm not like married to them. I'm down to try other programs. I don't have any Apple products. I hate Macs with a friggin' passion. I know that's weird for an artist. Don't at me. I've worked on Macs for a long time. Shut up, Tyler. I'm talking at you. But
It's okay, baby. He didn't mean it. It's okay.
it was joking. I know you crash on me, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Listen, it's 10 years old. It's bound to crash.
It's fine. It's fine. That's just a computer for you. It's 10 years. I'm not saying it's bad. I prefer my PC because I can dig in it. I can change it how I want to. I can mess with everything about it. I've got it sitting on my desk with a little window, and I can look in and all the little stuff that I can just take out at a moment's notice without wording a warranty or anything crazy.
No, fair, totally fair.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
I'm bi-platform. I use the best of both worlds, to my opinion, anyways. My PC, I do love building. My next PC, I'm gonna build it as well. I did. My current one is just from like 2011. It needs to die. But but I do love the iPad tablet and the Apple Pencil for sure.
Their design language is phenomenal. You can't beat the design language of the Apple ecosystem.
But
Having said that,
he's like, having said that, I beat it.
Well, no, I didn't beat it.
Like I do a lot of heavy rendering. I've done a lot of heavy rendering in the past, so I need something with a lot of juice, and something I can control more.
So you got like a loaded PC.
Yeah.
Nice.
Go on the cheaper side. Like, don't get suckered in.
I already have a spreadsheet, and I already know what I want. So
then you're probably fine. On hardware, I would like to suggest. All right, Intel. If you're getting a CPU,
yes.
Intel is good for games.
Oh.
They're good for other stuff, but if you want multitasking a little bit better, Ryzen is actually winning on that.
Ryzen. I do not know that one.
They're AMD. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fanboy of any of them. I don't care if they're red, blue, green, whatever. If like Ryzen's not as good at gaming as Intel. They're not good at focusing down on one thing and doing it really good.
Ruby's sinking down in her chair. It's
I'm talking at you. Why am I so militant? I'm about to start going off you beard or something like that, Joe. I'm sorry.
I like Intel and NVIDIA graphics card.
I know. Hey, I get NVIDIA, but Ryzen, because I don't just do gaming. I don't just do artwork. I don't just do videos. I do all of them, and I do a lot of them at the same time, and they need to talk to each other. And because I got that, just the Ryzen was just the best choice for me personally.
I will, to be fair, I will look into that. Okay, I will do a lot of research on it. Fair. I'm biased. That's my problem. Like many other PC people, biased. You know, it's a war between Intel and not Intel.
Yeah, don't let your fanboy goggles get in your way. Right, you gotta be objective. A whole new world, dazzling place I never.
So, I mean,
Joe, if you edit that out, I'm just kidding.
No, it's gonna be the opener.
That's gonna be the opener.
There we go. Continue the montage from right here. So anyway, Ruby, back to your CPU situation.
No. I digress. I'm done. I will do the research there.
Okay. Typically speaking, AMD is cheaper than Intel because Intel's got like the brand. It's kind of like Apple. Apple's got that like $1,000 Apple sticker.
Yes.
Right.
You get a free sticker with every Apple product, as far as I've seen, anyways.
Yeah.
Don't give away their secrets.
And it's all
You can use it as the call in your car.
And hey, branding is important. I'm not saying that brand loyalty and the strength of the brand cannot determine the price. That's great that they can do that. I'm proud of them for it. But like for me personally, it's not how I look into my stuff. Like most of the shirts I wear, not including this one I bought. Most of the shirts I wear, I made.
Hey.
I don't wear fancy shoes. You know, I don't got the latest of anything, but like it's just how I operate. So that's the hardware discussion, Joe. Moving on.
That's great.
I'm realizing we're spending a lot of time on each of these topics.
That's pretty solid advice though for artists. You know what I
Like,
mean?
a lot of people don't know what they want, and they want to hear this advice. Yeah. And
A
you know
lot.
what? We don't hear people talking about graphics cards or the really just the physical hardware aspects of PC. So that was very fascinating and good to know. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah. Well,
You're welcome.
I find it super useful for like artists like Belle, right? So Bellamere,
Yeah.
she is like 100% dominant traditional, but she's been curious about switching to digital lately. So I think things like this, you know, for her could be huge, because if she decides to make that jump, maybe she will go, you know, maybe I want to look into different products or build my own PC, yada, yada, yada. And it's nice that an established artist in her same community is, you know, throwing out good options that won't break the bank.
Oh yeah. And if people ask me all the time about like, hey, I want to get into digital, how do I get started?
Mm-hmm.
I always, and I'm not like a fanboy. Like I said, I try to have fanboy goggles. I try and be as skeptic and cynical as everything I can in my whole life. But having said that, I always point to the Huion 420. That is a tablet. That is like $30. That is a cheap beginner's tablet that works the way you figure it's going to work, and it's literally travel size. You could take it to school. You could take it to work. You can do anything with it. It's meant to be an intro tablet that works
Does it have
fine.
a screen?
No. It's $30. It's just like click, done.
Well, that's
cool,
why you were throwing me off
draw.
when you were like, you take it to work or school or whatever. I was like,
you can't
what?
you plug it into the computer, right?
Yeah.
Or laptop thing. But like, if like people will look at Wacom first almost every time, even if they like know they can't get it, and then they'll look at XP Pen and all this other stuff. People have this misconception often, I've found, not all the time, but often, when they want to get into digital, like, oh, I love the work you do. You don't do any pencil and paint? And I was like, no, I can't. It scares me. I do just digital stuff.
What?
I know, I'm sorry.
Oh.
But yeah, I just do digital. And they're like, I wish I could do digital. I just don't have anything. And I was like, well, it's not that hard to get into digital now. Like as far as price goes, if you don't go out for lunch twice, even you can get into digital artwork. You know, it can be a lot cheaper than it needs to be, or than it used to be. That's for sure.
That's freaking awesome. I love the suggestion of using that tablet. Wacom it tends to be so expensive. That's a huge investment for someone who's not even sure they're gonna invest into this further.
Exactly. And I love Wacom. I love their stuff. Not all their stuff, most of their stuff. And it's not like a lot of other brands. They have a little bit of like, you pay for that logo, but not that much. Most of it just genuinely blows the competition completely out of the water in terms of quality and what you get out of it. But there is a little bit of that cushion. It's got Wacom on it, so let's ramp it up just a little bit. Just a little bit. But most of it's worth it. So
Well, what's nice, I don't know if you guys have seen this, is Wacom kind of came out with something that I think is a great transition for people that maybe are trying to get into higher tier work, where they'll do like payment plans kind of thing for some of their larger products. So that's always something that I think is interesting that they're now doing, versus before it was like, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it kind of thing. But like, you know, Cintiqs and stuff, that's almost industry standard when you get to a certain level. Not saying you need to start there at all. Like, I use a Bamboo Draw, which was like $79 for all my artwork. Works great for me. You know what I mean? But if you're getting up there where you're like, I want to do this as a career, and you're trying to make that jump, sometimes like payment plans like that can help. So it's cool that those companies are starting to do that.
It's fantastic, especially how Photoshop went from, okay, you can either spend $500 for the base product every 2-3 years, or $10 every month or whatever for just one product. Now I spend $50 a month on Adobe, but it's subscription based, and I get all their stuff, all of it, full access, fully updated, constantly worked on, constantly improved. Long term, I'll spend more money, but short term, I get to do fantastic work. It essentially pays for itself.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
that's what's
because you
great.
have all those different programs at your fingertips. I mean, like you said, you're not paying $500 every 2-3 years for the base program of Photoshop, and
Yeah,
then
that was
having to
pretty
buy Audition or whatever else down the
Mhm.
road, or After Effects. You're paying $20 a month, and you have access to all 17 programs and the
Well,
new one
yeah.
that they just added. You know,
Oh yeah.
which
If you
even
look at just what he named,
yeah, go ahead.
like just what he named in the beginning when he said, I use Photoshop, Adobe After Effects, and
Premiere, Illustrator.
Yep.
Premiere. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like right there. Traditionally, you would have just spent close to $1,000.
Yeah,
in program.
probably closer to 1,300
Yeah,
if you want the real
And it-
stuff.
yeah. Now it's like, you spent $20.
every like 2-3 years you'd spend that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you want
it's
to
more
keep up.
accessible now for sure.
Yeah. So, fun fact, everybody, at this current recording, as far as I'm aware, Pixels After Dark is not endorsed by Wacom, Booyah, XPPin, or Adobe. They will be if you want them to be, and they agree to your terms. So come on down and send us What's funny
Thanks
is
for the disclaimer.
every time I'm on someone else's stream or whatever, I'm like, every chance I get, I'm like, hey, did you hear about Twitch Prime? It's this crazy thing. I'm just always chilling for people that I'm working with. Like, I try not to do it to my own stuff that much because it would make me look kind of gauche, I think. But when I'm on somebody else's thing, I've got no problem. I got no problem with like, hey, these people could use a little extra help making their stuff cool. So sponsorships are nice.
That is hilarious.
And that's why we all love you, man.
That's also why I made that logo thing. Like I mentioned this before we got started. I was like, I don't know if y'all actually had that animated thing on your radar. I looked at the design language of the logo and I was like, it looks like it was meant to just bubble.
Oh,
Kind of like Minecraft lava or whatever.
Mhm.
But I was like, I didn't know if any of y'all had the time for it. So I wanted to just spend a few hours of my own time to say thanks for having me on, give you something to remember me by. Maybe we can do this again sometime in the future. And have that thing
What
that
I like,
That thing's
what
so
I like about the
cool.
logo so much is Joe kind of came up with the words of like what we're gonna call the podcast,
it's catchy.
and then Ruby started like throwing out designs, and I was like all about her designs, and then I was like, it'd be cool if we threw like some of the retro gaming colors in there. So then we started looking up like color palettes like that. So it's kind of like this big collaboration, and now you've like added to it. So I kind of want the logo
feel
to
like
just
part of the
keep like
family.
exploding out. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
really cool.
Hopefully I start a trend. Hey, real quick,
Parents.
back to me shilling out for the people I'm working with. Other artists who they invite, bring something. All right, these people are hosting you. Bring a drink. bring some ice.
I can't.
Oh my goodness.
Add to the flavor. I'll be disappointed if you don't. You want to disappoint your buddy Gab.
Bring the napkins.
Bring the napkin.
Bring ice.
The
Bring napkins.
No one brings the napkins. You're all standing up drinking out of those red cups that the star of the party really brought.
Paper plates, that's where I roll.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I take it. No, everything has
Thank you
been
so
just
much.
yeah. Thank you for that, and everything's just been a giant collaboration all together with everything. I mean, I think we started out with like 4 different names, and it took us like 2 weeks to like, what about this one? No. What about this one? No. Yeah,
Well,
that
it's
won't
great.
work. So if
I
you
applaud.
actually follow it, our Twitter has a different name than our Twitch. Our Twitch has a different name than the actual podcast.
That was
But-
a struggle.
We
might-
like messing with people's minds. No.
You might want to start condensing that all into one.
Yeah,
straight
it
line.
might
Oh,
be,
it's-
maybe a thing. Yeah,
We've
I
been
think I
trying.
can change the Twitch now. I haven't
Yeah.
looked at it.
But then we have to change the business cards and all of the marketing.
That's easy, guys. All of y'all are artists in your own way. You don't get to say these things. These excuses aren't for you. You are all, at least 2 of you I know for a fact are pixel wizards like me. I don't care. If I
Yeah,
see
Ruby and
someone's-
Joe.
Yeah, you're funny. If I see I make overlays for people on while they're live on Twitch. They just have their first stream. Oh man, I'm kind of nervous. Oh jeez, and they've got their game and they've got a little camera just by themselves, little camera element. And I just take a screenshot of that. I'm like, don't change your camera. And they're like, okay, why? I spend like 3 or 4 hours on Photoshop and I email them this PNG of or an animated AVI file of an overlay. I'm like, put this on, and they're like, and it snaps perfectly because I just took a screenshot of their thing, and I'm like, boom, boom, bam, done. Pixel wizards.
That's epic.
We don't get to make excuses like, oh, we're gonna change the logo. We gotta.
We'll get to it.
Now that I feel terrible about myself.
Now we're gonna end
Need
this,
another day.
and
Yeah.
that's gonna be
Thanks
the
for coming,
motivation
Dan.
right there. Where literally tomorrow afternoon I'm gonna be at work, and Ruby and Tyler are gonna be like, "So I went through and redid this, and I checked into this, and this is done now. So what do we want? Rounded corners or do we want square? I think square would look better." And that way we could do this and send it to this company in California that'll
filigree
actually
corners.
animate the card itself.
Actually, here's a fun fact: there are business cards that have animations on them,
Oh my god.
and they last for like 5 minutes before the battery wears out. They're really cool.
Oh no.
Totally
That-
out of our budget.
What was it?
Tyler.
Yeah, I
Way out of our budget.
listen.
Just
I just
Vistaprint.
This actually brings us to one of our questions about like rabbit holing and stuff, because this is one of the things that I rabbit holed down when I was looking at making my own business cards, and then I was like, oh my gosh, there's ones that have screens on them and stuff. So have you ever researched for a project, and once you started researching, it led you to research things that had nothing to do with the project anymore?
Always.
Do you have a fun example of this?
I am now obsessed with honeybees.
Oh, tell.
Hmm.
There's this cool thing that was kickstarted very successfully, I might add. I think called the Flow Hive, which is where honeybees will populate the Flow Hive, and it's got pre-made hives with the pre-made combs, and all you got to do is stick this little rods in there and twist it, and it breaks the combs apart, and the honey just flows out into like a little faucet, and you just collect the honey. Believe it or not, that's actually like saves a bitch ton of time for honeybee farmers, and it makes it super simple. And the bees will just clean the whole thing up, throw the caps away, and they'll just refill it. And you're like, honey.
That's pretty cool.
But
I
Was that on
learned wicked
Kickstarter
cool.
That's
where they
pretty
had
cool.
like
That's really cool.
the stuff hanging on people's like walls inside?
I don't know about that. It's supposed to be like this thing you keep outside in like a garden. It's like this big box. That's a traditional like honeybee hive kind of box, and you just keep it out there. And the entrance is over there, and the bees go in and out that way. In the back, you just remove this panel, and you put this little faucet in these little rows where each of the columns are, and you just break the thing, and honey comes out, and you just seal it back up, and the bees just take care of it. But
So
That's really nice.
how did you stumble across this?
I was
Google.
What was your
Google
original
searches.
intent?
I was originally looking for interesting Kickstarters based around if there's any new like, because there's a bunch of crazy Kickstarters for all kinds of things, and I was looking to see if anybody was making like a really cool new tablet, and it was just that simple, and it turned into bees.
Tablet to bees, I dig it.
Yeah, no. Hey, listen, I would like to point out that Brian just rated,
Yeah, 9. Man,
And-
man, just saying hi.
Brian, my
and
man.
so does anybody here object to going like another hour and a half, 2 hours? Because I don't. I'm totally down for it.
think my
Who's
wife
editing
might-
this one?
Oh,
I'll edit it.
Joe.
I'll edit it.
Oh my goodness.
Like, sign me up.
Gamma's in. He's the all-star tonight. I'll tell you. No,
I'm just
but-
trying to avoid the 30-second challenge.
We'll get to that. That's a lot of fun. I just wanted to bring up a honeybee thing. I don't know where I read it, but you can tell the difference between pure honey, like from actual honeycombs, and like clover, because if you take like a paper plate or a plate and you put it down and you take the suspected pure honey, and you put it like a gob down on the plate and move it around a little bit, agitate it, it'll actually form to the original honeycomb that it came from.
What?
That's how you can tell the
I
difference.
gotta try that.
I never heard that. That sounds cool.
Check it
That's
out.
true. The more you know.
My
Dun,
goodness.
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Let's keep going down
I
this
swear,
rabbit hole.
everybody, we were talking about art before we started talking about bees.
Yes, this was a fact. Well, actually, we'll bring it right back around. Ruby, do you want to bring us into time management?
Time management. Let's see. How do you manage your time?
What a
Between
question.
live.
I'm sorry, that was so forward. Yeah, so I've noticed you tend to sleep when most people are working. I don't remember what your time zone is, but you'll
Yeah.
stream later at night.
Yeah. I usually wake up around, and it's not set at all. It's just when my body wakes up, I wake up.
Hey.
And when I wake up, I come in here and I sit down and I work. And then when I get
That's like
tired,
a dream.
for some people, yeah. For me, honestly, yeah. I always wanted to just wake up, walk over to my office, paint, eat, sleep, go back to bed, come back, paint, or whatever. That was what I've always wanted to do. And the more I do it, the easier the dream is to realize. But as far as time goes, I wake up just before dinner, and I cook dinner for my family. I live here this is my family house, because me and my girlfriend used to live in Arlington, which is this other small city inside a much bigger metroplex that we live in. And we were fine. We were doing fine on our own. But my mom was here in this big house by herself. And then her brother moved in, my uncle. And still, it's just two people in this big house, and they would never see each other. And her diabetes started getting a little out of control. So she was like, could you come here? I mean, you work from home now. I was like, yeah. And your girl works from home. I'm like, well, yeah. She's a pet sitter, by the way. She goes around people's houses and takes care of their animals. It's
cool.
It's very lucrative business for anybody who's interested in working for yourself and don't want to do art. But so we moved back in here, and I cook. I wake up. I go downstairs. I cook for the family. I cook their dinner, my breakfast. They all go to sleep. And when everyone's asleep, when the whole world on my side is down for the count, I boot up my PC and I work through the night, either streaming or listening to audiobooks and just painting. And I just kind of get in this zen moment of just pure bliss. And I just paint naked elves with tattoos or cosmic entities floating around planets, or just anything that I kind of need to paint or want to paint. And then I close it down once the sun comes up. I got a good solid, I think I get a good solid, maybe 12 hours. Not like, that's not how long the night lasts, but I stop around 10 in the morning or whatever, somewhere close to noon. And then I eat some dinner, lunch. And then I spend as much time with everyone else I can, like my girl or my mom or my uncle or whatever. And we just do our thing, and then I handle any errands I need to, and then I go back to sleep, and I wake up and do it all again.
That's awesome. That's like a really unique schedule, but it's cool how it works for you.
It originally happened this way because two reasons. One, I've always been kind of a bit of an insomniac. Ever since I was a kid, I would, and this sounds so creepy. I was from 5 years old up to 9 or 10 or whatever, back when we were in this in our old house. I would wake up in the middle of the night and just walk around the house. And what's weird, and again, this is another one of those super specific moments that might not be something everyone's experienced, but if you have, you're gonna go, oh my god. I would talk to myself as if I was being interviewed in the future.
Interesting.
I would be because if I wanted to do something, and I still do this, the way I combat barriers in my life, problems, is I'll walk around and I'll interview myself in the future. And I would imagine I'm sitting on this chair next to this interviewer in 10 years, and they go, so Gamma, how did you solve this problem? And I would, kind of really get into character, and I'd be like, well, I did this, and I realized this, and the problem I was facing was this, and my options in front of me were this. So I decided to do this, and this happened, and this would probably most happen. So then this, and and then after I was done, I realized that I had solved my problem by pretending that it was in an interview solving my problem. And so I would try what I said in my interview to myself, and it would work most of the time. And I'd be like, oh, wow, that actually worked. Huh. Because it's one of my little problem solving problems that I would use the nighttime when everyone else is asleep, because this was crazy and I didn't want to be weird. I would walk around my house as a kid. So, Bruno, tell me about this math problem, how you solve this. And I was like, well, I realized when you put these numbers together. All my life, these little barriers that came up to now, and I'm like 28. I'm going to be 28 in a few weeks. I still do this. I shut everything off and I walk around this room and then very, very, very dark. So my sugar gliders don't get upset by the light. And they're running around their little cage, and I'm just walking around having this interview with myself. And it sounds weird, but that's just how I solve my problems.
That's really.
That
It's
is pretty
unusual,
cool.
and it's not what I think most people would share, but that's a very interesting approach. And I don't mean to. Oh my god! No.
I didn't think most people would say that.
Sorry.
No. That needs to stay in. Absolutely. I'm just.
No, that's right up there with Brian's Ninja Turtle underwear in the kitchen floor.
I haven't heard that. I must have missed that.
You gotta listen to Brian's
You
podcast.
didn't hear that one?
Oh
That was
my
great.
gosh.
Oh my god. Podbean, right?
iTunes, Podbean,
God.
Google Play.
Okay, there we
He
go.
still
There we
does
go.
that.
Google
He still
Play.
does that.
No problem.
You already knew he hates Max.
Hope Brian went to sleep. He's like, oh no, turtles.
He's just, wife thinks it's hot. That's awesome.
Yeah, Brian's interview was awesome because his wife was in chat and she kept releasing some dirt on him. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's what I love about him. It's like when he's streaming, his wife's right there. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
she'll be like, hey guys, or you walk in like to Brian's stream, you could just automatically say, hey Ms. Monkeys, and you'll just get a response. Hey, what's that? And it's adorable, but like also like you'll get those moments where like, oh well, someone didn't do the dishes. He's sitting there drawing this epic oryx, and he's like,
He pauses.
It doesn't even phase him though. He's just like, yeah, I'll get to that.
That's a perfect Brian. Yeah, I'll get to that. I guess so. It's really cool. It's really neat how
How the dishes will get done here soon.
he has
That's
this so
awesome.
relaxed, so chill demeanor at all times. I love him for it.
Yeah.
Unlike me, I guess I don't know. I've been told I get a little crazy.
So do you listen to a lot of music when you draw?
I used to a lot. Sometimes I still do, but I much rather listen to audiobooks.
Yes, I love audiobooks. That's
I listen to him every day.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Ruby was
Or
just saying that.
podcasts.
that and documentary.
Yeah, no, definitely those. Like I've been watching these seeing oh no.
Ruby died.
Ruby died.
No.
Just your video. Just your video. We can hear you.
No, it's
I
all
love
right.
it.
It kind of fits with the podcast because it's all pixelated.
Yeah, there we go.
His Ruby's true self.
Oh, she's back. Okay, cool. But anyway,
I'm really made out of pixels.
she really am made out of pixels.
We know.
But
Just real quick, it's not a well, it's a plug, but for audiobooks, do you like kind of like comedy ones? And this one I've absolutely just been in love with, and I've listened to the entire series 3 or 4 times through, and it's based on a like a Dungeons and Dragons game
nice.
It's
where
a
you
great-
actually like use like Craigslist to get a dungeon master for your game, and
Where's
then you
this
razz
going?
and piss off the dungeon master essentially, and he actually has magic dice and sends all of you into the actual world as your characters as your punishment. And so
What?
think of your like 4 or 5 closest foul-mouthed buddies
Just going into D&D.
and getting sent in, and one's like his intelligence score is like a 4, but he made the guy mad, so it's like a 2 because he got penalized. So he's going in there as like a half orc with no intelligence.
He can barely talk.
Yep, barely talk, barely function.
Everybody did.
It's called Critical Failures, and you have to look it up.
Failures.
I'll get you a copy of it if
I'll
you
definitely-
want.
Yeah,
But
Honestly,
it's
most
hilarious.
Most of the audiobooks I listen to on that vein is actually right now I'm listening to Legend of Drizzt, which is made by R.A. Salvatore about his drow character in D&D.
Epic.
It's awesome.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah. What was it called?
It's the Legend of Drizzt saga. It's Drizzt, and it's huge. He's been at it for years. There's so many books.
I got a free
Yeah,
download. I'm hitting
Wizards
it
of the
tomorrow.
Coast, The Forgotten Realms. It's good stuff.
I tell you what, one of the best audiobooks I've listened to, and I've listened to it 8 times, and I counted, The Martian.
The Martian. That's a good one.
Dude, just the way it's narrated and everything, it just paints the picture, but I can work all day through listening to it and be entertained. It never loses it. It's just how it's delivered. It's perfect.
Yeah.
To me.
It's a good one, undoubtedly. But, audiobooks while I'm working is kind of like how I just zen out. And it's weird. My brain will just like divide, right? Like I know what's going on in the story, and I know what I'm painting, and they're completely different things. And I'll sit here and I'll try and be focusing on making these colors blend better while listening to like an epic fight scene. And I'm like, oh man, that was crazy how they just did that. Wow. And I'll just focus on this again. It's interesting. Like you could listen to music. That's how I did college. When I was in college, I would listen to I realized I don't mind dubstep in college because it just like gets you working. I don't know why, but
Energetic.
yeah. But like dance music and stuff like that, it unlocked this weird mode of work that I didn't think I could do, and so that's how I did most of that. So audiobooks over music, but music's definitely good in my opinion.
Yes. And documentaries.
And documentaries are fine too.
Very cool.
what kind of documentaries? Like Nat Geo?
Those are great. Love them. Like Netflix has a lot of those, like BBC Earth or The Blue Planet or
Planet. Yeah.
stuff like that. And there's also CNN's been releasing this docu series about the 90s, the 80s, early 2000s, and it's got bam, bam, bam. Music industry, film industry, TVs, politics, geopolitical stuff, and then those 80s, and then boom, 90s, TV, music industries, and it's blasts from the past up into the 2000s, I think, and it's great.
There's a series I love so much, and the way I discovered it was, I wouldn't say I discovered it, it was brought to my attention, because I posted a piece of art, the Marosov one, super bright and colorful. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yes, absolutely.
The art style apparently was very reminiscent to a YouTube channel called Kurzgesagt. So I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's German. Kurzgesagt. Kurzgesagt. And that means in German in a nutshell. And and the art style is all vector and motion graphics animation. It is the cutest thing. It is narrated amazingly. They're short. They're like maybe 6 to 10 minutes long.
There we go. Now I understand it. I've seen them. I love them. They're adorable.
Yes, aren't they?
Yeah, it's Kurzgesagt. Yeah.
Now I have to ask. Chris said this in chat. Was anything that you've done while listening to an audiobook or music been influenced while developing the piece? Was it anything ever influenced by what you were listening to at the time? Like, say gave the example, you were doing an art piece, working on something, and you just listened to an epic fight scene from an audiobook. Did that somehow come through in the art a little bit?
Yes, but not many audiobooks translated through that to my piece. Not many. sometimes I would need a mood, and I knew that this particular book conveyed that mood for me, and or the narrator worked very well to incorporate a particular mood, or how they read put me in a mood, and then that mood would then be translated onto a piece. So moods are a little different, but like epic fight scenes, again,
It was
car
just an
ride.
example. Yeah. Car
Oh, no.
ride.
Yeah, no, the car ride. So I always call
ride.
I always call it the car ride. It's not, and not just that, but like just to work or whatever. Got the music in your head, 2 Steps from Hell or something, really slow motion. These other great groups. Epic Score is a good one. But you're listening to this music and you're just on your road, and then you got that really cool scene in your head of like some epic stuff going on. I'd try and remember that, and then I would listen to that same song that I was listening to while working on the piece, and it would just bring me back to that moment, and then I could make it. So yes, in a way, not audiobooks. Really, audiobooks more for mood. Actual visual stuff that I thought about because of a song, which is kind of also mood based. That one translated probably a little more directly, I think.
Nice. Now,
That makes sense.
now that we're on the being inspired and everything, how do you feel about doing a 30-second challenge?
Oh, I forgot about this.
Oh, he's got his glasses. He's ready to go. Look at him. Look at him.
I'm all right with a 30-second challenge, so to
Okay.
speak. Hang on.
Make that full screen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to blow this up for a full screen for everybody else. I apologize if it's a little fuzzy and it's not best quality. It's just I'm capturing a smaller video, making it a bigger video. So
Beautiful. Hit that F.
There we go. That should be.
yeah, it looks good.
Without the pressure, we're on your tablet.
Now,
Thank you.
while he's setting up and everything, and Ruby's loving the pressure on the tablet. What do we
Like lotion on the skin.
what do we feel like? Anybody in chat want to suggest something for the art challenge?
Ooh, that's a good way.
Ruby, are you getting a timer?
Oh my gosh, I always forget that. Stopwatch is ready. Now we need the audience to give suggestions.
Anybody watching
Anyone?
right now? A ninja hamster
hamster.
from Jay. Okay.
A ninja hamster, huh?
Jay, we don't want
Let's
to know
see.
about your fetishes, man.
Ninja hamster, Doctor Doom. Ninja
I'm down for
Turtle.
ninja hamster.
These guys are
Ninja
going
hamster?
hard, Dr. Doom.
I'm down for the ninja hamster.
Derpy ninja hamster.
I like
Okay.
derpy.
All right, ninja hamster. All right, this is pretty unique. All right.
Ninja
Alright,
hamster in 30
alright,
seconds. This is
alright.
going to be hard.
Are you ready? You ready?
Yeah, is it look good on screen? Can you see this okay?
I see that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's beautiful. All right. I'll give you a countdown,
Thank
and
you.
then you start, and then I'll tell you when you're at 10 seconds, and then 20 seconds.
All right.
Oh, no, wait, 15 seconds, which is halfway, and then 20 seconds, because... All right, 3, 2, 1, go! "15 seconds. 20 seconds. You got 5 seconds left. 3, 2, 1, stop!
This is honestly how a lot of my pieces start, just like that.
That's why I was laughing, because it literally reminded me of some of the behind-the-scenes stuff you guys share on Twitter.
Yeah.
I was like, great. So we know he does a 30-second challenge for violin videos.
Yeah, no. You stay as loose as possible. That's the whole point.
So everybody
Alright.
listening that wasn't, I suggest recommend more like check out the stream video. It'll be up on YouTube, or you can check it out. We'll have Gamma send us a copy of this sweet Ninja Turtle so we can put it on our Twitter.
It's a hamster.
And-
How dare you?
Oh, I'm thinking of turtles because somebody said Splinter, and now I'm thinking of Ninja Turtles. I'm all confused.
It kind of did look a little splinters.
But no, the way it turned out, it was literally as it sounds, a ninja hamster with 2 swords doing a flying kick through the air. So it was pretty
Something
epic.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Young Kong
Sign
what
difference.
flying kick pose that was.
Yeah. Whatever that
We'll
is. It's
tag
it's like a reverse dab. You know?
Thank you so much for doing that. That was awesome.
Yeah,
At the
you
end of
know
the
what's
year,
great about it?
I'm saving them to make a calendar out of them, just so everybody's aware.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice. It's
I
embarrassing.
think
but
what was
nice.
great though is you could really see how he could take it like to another level if he wanted to. Like the
No.
design language was there.
Yeah, that's I appreciate very, very humbly appreciate your compliments.
Well, that's
For
a
my-
segue.
for my
right
doodle.
there. That's a segue right there from the doodle. Is there any tips or techniques that you could share with people maybe that are listening or watching that are trying to develop a little bit more that they could take something away from this episode?
If we're talking about transitioning from, okay, here, I got a great one. A lot of people, when they come to me, a lot of young people, even older people who are just getting into artwork, will show me their pieces, and they're really proud of them. And they should be, because they spend a lot of time, and you can tell there's a lot of detail and a work into it. And often it'll be like a picture of Goku or something like that, something they really love. That brings them a lot of joy, and they really want to try and emulate this. But if I look at it in a very critical eye, and when they ask me for like my honest opinions, I'll tell them something like, you know, the detail work is great for the medium, like because they're working on pencils and stuff. Their shading is fantastic. But often, what you'll see with kids in high school, kids in college, people just starting out, people who aren't practiced very well, their proportions are very sloppy. Like this hand will be really big, this hand will be really small. Like one arm will be really stretched out, the face will be askew, the neck will be too short or non-existent, or whatever. And so the reason that happens is because when they're getting into those details, because it looks like a fully finished rendered piece, the sketching is great, the detail on like the clothing and stuff is great, the hair, they spend a lot of time on it, you can tell. Rip in peace to whoever's just broke that. Sound like someone just broke some dishes. Anyway, but the design language isn't fully realized before they get started working on like putting in a lot of detail. So what will happen is they'll focus a lot on like one particular part, and you can tell that they'll focus on the hand, right? And so this hand will look nice, and they'll be looking at that hand while they're working, and then they'll go to the head, and the head will look fine to a certain point. But then when they back up and look at the whole piece, the head and the hand don't match. Like they don't make sense. And then they'll look on the clothes and they'll start designing clothes. And then the hair. And each of these individual pieces, that if you look at the individual pieces of these characters or the things you're looking at, they look fine. But when you look at the whole thing as a whole, they look like they don't fit. And so when I say that to people, they're always like, oh man, I've been doing that for so long, I don't know how to fix it. The easiest way to fix it is, this kind of goes back to the early beginning part of this podcast where it said it's okay to waste extra time. The best way you could do it to save yourself from wasting too much time is to draw crappy doodles of hamsters trying to break out of their hamster ball with a ninja kick or whatever, and just make it loose, make it work to just express the language or the mood or whatever you're trying to convey most at the point in time. Don't get too tight. Put as much information in that rough draft as possible. Just throw in, like, I always tell people, like Zodran or whatever, he might be still in chat, but I always say, let go of control. Because that's what a lot of people holding themselves back is they're trying to make this awesome work that these bigger artists will make, like Brian, for example, really detailed, fantastic stuff, right? So when someone tries to make something like Brian, what they think they should focus on is the nicks and cuts in the armor, or the shading of like the helmet or whatever. I think it's called pitting, by the way, when you get those little divots in metal. But that's not what they should be focusing on. What they should be focusing on is first making sure their design fits itself. Make sure that the character proportions are correct. make sure that you draw a stick figure or a smudge figure first, and just make it crazy and put all the elements in the image you want, like a titan fighting a hive wizard or whatever. Make sure that they communicate. And a nasty, scrubby stick figures if you have to. Just, fashion to where that their poses work, their proportions work, and then you can start smudging again. Go big brush to small brush. Big brush start blocking in the area that you want. Brushy, nasty, gnarly. Doesn't have to look pretty. And then you can start tightening up those details after the fundamentals are set. And Brian talks a lot about this too. I miss his podcast. I assume he already touched on this, and I hope I didn't repeat. But fundamentals are definitely something that you always got to focus on.
Yeah, that's
excellent.
A tip. That's a really great.
That's a hell of a tip.
Started. I love that it's super beginner. Like, this is super useful. Just wanting to know where to start. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. And thank you for coming on with us. It's been so much fun tonight. I mean, it's been a blast. I mean, it's hard to believe we're 2 hours into it. It just blew by.
I can go 3 more.
Oh my goodness.
That's me. I'm crazy. Don't
the night owl.
Yeah, don't try and put yourself in my place. Y'all just worry about yourselves. I'm out of it. I talk to myself about future interviews. All right, don't listen to anything I say.
Well, since he's got 3 more hours in, we'll have to get him back on the show sometime.
There we go. Yeah, all time.
What's on TV?
Sorry.
Well, Gamma, thank you so much for coming on with us. Where can people find you, and where can people find more of your art?
You can find my YouTube, which is just Gammatrap, Gammatrap. The G is capitalized, the T is not. There's no space between Gamma and the Trap. It's just Gammatrap. You could do it all under case if you want, but keep it all together. That's important. Yeah. Then there's the Gammatrap on Twitter. There's regular just Gammatrap on Instagram and Twitch. Twitter, all these things should be pretty much linked to each other. And if you just find me randomly without links to anything else, then let me know, because I try and make sure they all talk to each other in their own way. But if you want to make sure you find absolutely everything of mine, you can just go to my website at gammatrap.com. It's also a good way to get a hold of me. My email's there, so if you want to email me, that's a cool way to do it.
Very cool. And you also have a Discord server too, right?
I do. And the only way to access that is to go to my Twitch. That one has a small tunnel. Or if I give you the link, there's that too.
Fair.
But I like to critique artwork and stuff like that for people send me.
That's great.
I lurk in your server. I usually pop in like once a day, see what's going on, dig around a little bit. It's part of the 1400 servers that I'm in. I try and interact in all of them at least once a day, and there's always something going on in yours. There's some wild conversations and everything. I love it.
I've been told that I attract the crazies, and I have no problem with that. Yes, Ruby?
Before I forget, how did you come up with your name?
Hang on, you cut out what?
How did you come up with your name?
I can try and condense that into a nutshell if you want.
Okay.
Or would you like the actual story?
Actual story.
Okay, Tyler's like, oh fuck, I'm tired. but when I was about, I think 10 or something like that, I used to make this comic book. I was drawing this little comic book character, and his name was Gammatrap, and he would create these gamma radiation explosions. It was my first email, I think. It's Gammatrap, and so I from time to time I would use that as like my nickname, not really my call sign or whatever in Xbox and PlayStation stuff. So it kind of came out of nowhere for people who knew me for only a few years. They were like, Gammatrap, where'd that come from? I was like, it's just this thing I had in a kid. And, I was a little comic book character I made when I was a kid. But
Oh,
but if you ever had the Incredibles DVD and you looked at the bonus content, they had this thing where they would talk about other heroes in the universe, and there was like these other, like, they might not have appeared on screen, but they were already written, right? And one of them was Gamma Jack, who would make these gamma radiation explosions, and that's how I figured out my character based off that. So I wasn't very creative or original back when I was like 10. But it's so long story short, I got my name off the Incredibles. In a way, they were Gamma Jack, I was Gammatrap because he made traps.
because it sounds really cool, and I am thoroughly surprised and impressed that you've been using that 10. Because
Yeah.
I've come up with so many handles on the internet, and none of them have stuck for longer than maybe 5 years at most.
Well, the only one that matters is the one that people know you by.
Yeah, no, this one's too late. I'm actually being active. This one. That's it for me.
This is the one you're gonna have to stick with.
Yeah, it's too late.
What's wrong with that? It's a great one.
It's too late.
Would you prefer Ruby?
That works too. That works too. That's my real name, by the way.
Yeah.
Legitimately Ruby.
My real name is Brandon.
Nice to meet you, Brandon.
No way will
Thank you.
ever guess mine.
Jimmy.
Joe.
Jeffrey.
It's Mark. Nobody knew that. Curveball. No.
Wait, really?
No.
Oh,
I don't know. When I first saw your face, which was honestly after I saw Average Joe, I saw your face and I didn't know you were Joe, Average Joe, because I knew your name before I knew your face. And I saw your face. I'm like, this guy looks like a Clarence.
That Clarence. That's a Derek. That's a Todd right there.
Oh, man.
Tyler looks just like his name. So I'm like, it's got to be Tyler. It's no way. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Well, that's cool, I guess.
That's the guy who married his best friend that likes to go on hikes. That's Tyler right there.
True. It's true. Well, crap.
oh my gosh. It's true that I forgot you like the wildlife. And...
Oh, dude, if I could dig a hole and build a hut on top of that hole, I'd be set for life. Like, if my wife would never let me do it, but
where are we gonna hang the flower curtains if we build a hole in the wilderness?
yeah, no, if I'm telling you, I could live in like 1,000 square foot cabin, no, like hands down, no problem. I like being outside more than inside, for sure.
Nice. But I mean, you gotta bring your like mobile tablet thing with you though, or just a real canvas.
Yeah,
put a
no, I got tons of
generator in
canvases.
that
I never
grass
share
hut.
that stuff, which I probably should, but I like traditional painting just as much as digital. So
Like I said, it scares me.
I'd be set.
Just get you drunk one day and just keep.
Just get him drunk and give him a paintbrush.
You would-
Picasso.
You'd be terrified by the time I was done with it. I would sit in there, like I would paint a couple things, I'd mess up so much, and I'd be like, "There's no Control Z on this tablet. It's not a tablet; it's a canvas." Well, if it's a canvas, then why can't I rotate it by doing this? You can rotate it by
You
doing
can
this.
rotate it with your hands. Just
Yeah.
turn it.
It's too much work.
Yeah,
It's
this
too
is
much work.
getting way out of hand.
Yeah, we went off the rails, but
I'm sorry. I wanted to know about his name.
no, I love that. Talking about the getting him drunk and putting a paintbrush in his hand. I guess there's things to look forward to at Guardian Con, I guess.
G-Con.
Yeah, let me just tell you all something. All right, it's not because I want it to be this way. I hate the fact that it's this way, but it is this way. I am not a cheap drunk.
Okay. I understand.
I even stopped drinking just so I can, like, my liver can chill the hell out, so I can become a cheap drunk. I've been trying my best. It's working a little bit, but